Hello, we make videos and we upload them to YouTube to help out people who are young and want a job, but they don't know how to get it. So they might want ideas. And we're here interviewing you because some people requested on marketing tips and stuff.
Cool.
Okay. Thank you for listening to me.
Do I then have to do like an intro?
Oh, I don't know. Interviewer one is meant to speak, but yeah.
Let's begin with the questions. Okay. What made you want to pick this career path?
It sounds bad. I fell into it by accident, I think. My initial plan was to be a musician, and then I basically studied music at university, and halfway through my course, I kind of realized that I still wanted to work in music, but I more wanted to work in the marketing side of it, as opposed to like being an actual musician. So I kind of fell into by accident, and then after I finished uni, I got a job working for like a music startup, basically doing marketing. But kind of since that job, I've had like a number of different roles, and like none of them have actually involved music. They've all involved marketing, but I've kind of gone from wanting to work in music marketing to kind of now like helping brands kind of like tell their story online. But yeah, that's how I got into it by accident. Is the short answer.
Would you say marketing is a scam?
Is it a scam? Yes, to a degree. I think it very much depends on the kind of brand, but yeah, I think there's a lot of people that use marketing they might not be like a nice brand, or the product or service they're offering, might not be very good, but then they use marketing in a clever way to make you think that it's a good product or a good service. And then let's say, for example, you see an Instagram ad for a pair of shoes and you think, okay, they look really nice, I'm going to buy them. And then they turn up and, like they're fake, or they're just not very good. And then obviously you've kind of been scammed because the advertiser has made them look like something that they're actually not. There's lots of different things in marketing to prevent that. So when you start working with like big brands, you can't really get away with things like that. So I think if you were to be scammed by marketing, it's probably from, I don't know, like someone who set up a brand in their bedroom, as opposed to like an actual brand that kind of makes money. But yeah, I think it's a good question. There's a lot of people doing a lot of sneaky things that you or I aren't necessarily aware of, but yeah.
How do you attract customers?
There's lots of different ways you can do it. I think from my point of view, and when I want to start, I don't know, like being involved in a brand, or I want to get into a brand, I think the thing for me is that they're just kind of like honest with what they offer. They've got something about them as well. So rather than just being like, hi, we're Nike, we sell shoes, right? It's like, hi, we're Nike, we sell shoes. But by 2025, we want 80% of our shoes to be made from pineapple leather. So a brand where it's got a bit more like, they've got like a social conscience about them. A really good example, if you want to do some research after, is look into Patagonia. So they're like an outdoorsy brand. They sell very good fleeces, by the way, so I would recommend investing. But they also do quite a lot of like good things with like different charities. And I feel like, especially going into kind of like the world we live in now, I think when a brand does do more than just be a brand, that's to me how they attract customers.
Do you have any like very useful tips on branding or strategies?
Yeah, there's lots of different ways. It kind of obviously depends on what you're branding, or would this be about your YouTube channel, for example?
Maybe.
Okay. So for like, let's use your YouTube channel as an example. Like, obviously I don't know too much about it, but how would you brand it? Do you use LinkedIn?
I don't know.
No. So what I would do is, obviously, because you're talking to people in different like career paths, I would use LinkedIn as an outlet, because LinkedIn is, full of people who are working. Obviously there's some quite like important people that are on LinkedIn, and they engage with different people. And I feel like from a branding point of view, if you like look at us, I don't know how old you guys are, so I don't want to guess. But let's say you're 14. Like you could be like, cool, I'm a 14-year-old, I'm making a YouTube channel, we're interviewing different people about different careers. Like if I was like some super duper important person at like YouTube or Google, I'd be like, that's really, really cool. And it's really, really cool how they're kind of, rather than just doing these videos, they're shouting about it on different platforms. And I feel like if I was in charge of helping you brand it, I think, you know, I would use LinkedIn and I would kind of reach out to different people that might be in the YouTube space. Because I think like stuff like this is like super impressive, and what you're doing is like, it's really cool. And a lot of people, especially important people, will see value in what you're doing.
Who do you think is your main target?
From the clients that I work on.
Yeah.
So it depends on the client that I'm working on. So a client I'm working on at the moment, it's really cool. It's an app, and it essentially, in different areas of London, it delivers you groceries within 10 minutes, which I still don't understand how it properly works, because to me, that's just mental. So our target audience for that would be, it's only available in certain bits of London. So our target audience there would be people within a radius where they can get those groceries delivered in 10 minutes. In terms of like, that's probably a bit of a bad example because it's very niche. In terms of like clients I've worked on in the past, so a lot of my experience has come with working with car brands. So an example of a car brand, how we would target them, they might be like, obviously a car is quite an expensive purchase, but they might want to get younger people into their brand earlier. So when they then can afford the car in, let's say, 10 years time, that they really want that brand of car. So we would target, say we wanted to target 18 to 24-year-olds, we would do that, you know, via like TikTok ads, lots of different ads, like Instagram, obviously quite a big one, Snapchat. So yeah, that's how we would kind of do it. It all kind of depends on the different product or the service that you're offering.
Is there anything that you're like very good at and stuff you need to work on?
What, in my work or just in general life?
In your work.
Yeah. I would say that I'm good, and I've always kind of like think I've been good at it, is dealing with clients. So whether that be I've got something that's bad news and I need to tell them, which obviously can be quite a daunting task, but I feel like I know how to frame it in the right way. I would say that's probably my strongest point, kind of like client servicing. I think in terms of what I need to work on, probably organization. I'm not very good at that. I've never really been good at that. I always used to leave my coursework to the last minute. So yeah, probably, and that's kind of like gone into my work life as well. I've kind of always like strived on like leaving things to the last minute, which I don't know, I work quite well at it, but it's probably not a good thing, and I wouldn't recommend that you guys do it either.
What's the most stressful thing in your marketing career?
Ooh, I've had quite a few. What is a really stressful moment? I think just learning about, there's no like necessarily particular, actually there is one moment that I'll tell you, and it wasn't necessarily my fault, but it was very stressful. I used to work for a marketing agency, and we had a client who was like it was a travel client, and they did like private travel bookings. And the guy who like ran the company wasn't a very nice man. I don't mind saying that. And as the marketing agency, we would handle uploading content to their Instagram account. But at the time, this travel company just hired someone to do it. But me and my boss at the agency, we were training this guy how to do it, because he was quite new to it and they were still paying us to do it. And basically the guy that they had, he uploaded a picture of like a private island somewhere to the Instagram account. And literally about an hour later, that said private island was involved in like a hurricane. It's not funny, I don't know why I'm laughing. It was involved in a hurricane, which obviously isn't good. And we would have like, my phone started ringing. And I'd never talked to this guy at the travel company before, like person to person. I'd only ever been on like emails. And it's fair to say he absolutely let me have it, and he wasn't very impressed. So, and like at the time I was like fairly junior and I was quite new to the company as well. So like it was quite, if it had happened to me, like if I was been there for like 3 years and I talked to him before, like I'd know how to handle it. But at the time, I think I'd only been there probably like 4 or 5 months. Yeah, that was quite stressful. I've got others that Actually, probably there's an even worse one, which I'll dumb down a little bit because it's not necessarily completely YouTube friendly. But we had this is my last job, and we had a big client presentation. And I had to present in front of like 30 different people, like all like really senior members of a brand. And I was presenting like the performance of a campaign, and the performance was absolutely shocking. That was quite stressful, just like purely like going into it. I was very nervous about it. And then, yeah, I remember just standing up there for about 30 minutes, just getting absolutely grilled by loads of important people. That wasn't great. And in fact, that morning, we just had a new member of the team start, who I was like training and looking after. And I thought, oh, it'd be a good experience if he comes along to it and he can like meet the clients. And like when we left the room, he literally just said to me, "That was really hard, wasn't it?" And I was just like, yeah. So yeah, probably one of those two.
If there was anything you could change in your career path, what would it be?
I would probably say learn, it's like quite an obvious one, but like learn like new skills as you go. I think I've had quite a bit of a weird marketing career where well, not usually, but like very commonly what would happen is you'll start off in like one form of marketing. So that might be like social media, or it might be in advertising, and you kind of like stick to that throughout your career. Whereas I've kind of always I've worked in lots of different forms of marketing. So I started off doing like working with influencers, so like working with YouTubers. And then off the back of that, I then started working in like creating content. And then off the back of that, I then started working in like just advertising. And that's still what I do to this day. Whereas a lot of people I've worked with before, like my previous job, I was at a big advertising agency. And a lot of people who worked there, they've only ever worked in advertising, whereas kind of I've done lots of different bits. So although I have learned a lot of different skills and skills that I don't necessarily use for my day-to-day job now, I would still like to learn even more. And my current job, which I've just joined about 6 weeks ago, they don't necessarily specialize in what I do, but I'm going in to grow that department. So it's a really good opportunity for me to learn new skills of what they're really good at as well. So yeah, learn new skills.
What qualifications do you need to become a social media marketer?
Absolutely none. I think people there's obviously like marketing degrees and A levels and stuff like that. To be honest, if I was hiring someone, like I wouldn't even look at the kind of qualifications that would be on their CV. I would more look at what they've done outside of school or outside of college. So a really good tip would be, say you're really interested in like sneakers, and you're 15, you're 16, like do a YouTube channel talking about sneakers, or do like a blog where you write about sneakers, because then when you want to get into the industry, rather than the hiring person being like, oh cool, you've got like 10 A's or 10 B's or whatever, they're like, oh cool, you write a blog or you've got a YouTube channel. Like that shows that you understand like the marketing space, and you've already got experience doing it before you've had the opportunity to have experience. So from a marketing point of view, I wouldn't worry about it, but obviously that's not necessarily the correct answer for every single walk of life, because I can see Saz's face. She's not too impressed by that answer. But for marketing, and if someone like me is looking to hire someone, I wouldn't look at qualifications.
Also, I'm just going to interrupt there and say, I thought that was really good advice, because actually often people are like, oh no, you need qualifications for everything. But actually in the real world, you don't. So I think it's good to hear from someone in an actual job role saying like, okay, if I was hiring, I wouldn't look at qualifications.
Yeah.
Cool. So thank you. Sorry, interviewers, I interrupted you. You're passing on to the next interviewer.
I think this might be it for the interview.
Okay, does anyone have any additional questions which have come up as Dom has been speaking?
I might have one, but it might not make sense.
I'm sure it will. Go for it.
It's linked to the qualifications one. Would you say it's important to have qualifications, or is it better to like if you want the job, is it better to like try your best on the job when doing an interview or something? I don't know if that made sense.
So, and is this just to do with marketing or just in general again? I presume marketing, or I think when I said like it's not important to have qualifications, there'll be certain marketing jobs where you will need qualifications. So if you wanted to be like a copywriter, so that would be writing adverts, like you probably need some form of like English GCSE or A level because it shows you can write English. I think like another thing about qualifications of why although they're not necessarily important for the grade that you're showing on a piece of paper, but they are still important in some respects. So for example, if you were to go to university, obviously that would be probably the first time that you're leaving home, and you might be going to a completely new city where you don't know anyone. And like that will teach you like really important things that although the grade that you're getting might not necessarily be important for marketing, but those experiences really might be. Like you might meet someone at that university who also has a sneaker blog, and then you like, so it's important in that aspect because you meet new people, and it gives you life skills. But I think from like a qualification, like purely just writing down something on a CV, to me, it isn't as important.
In terms of what you're saying about approaching people on LinkedIn,
yeah,
could you give us like a little bit more detail about that? Like how should you add them on LinkedIn? Should you just like cold message them? Should you have like a LinkedIn page for your YouTube channel? How would it actually work?
I would do it. I would have a LinkedIn profile just for like the individual people rather than like the YouTube channel. I probably wouldn't cold message people because I think a lot of LinkedIn is people just cold messaging people and people get annoyed by it. I would just kind of do it naturally and organically just by like posting videos or posting snippets of not like necessarily like the full video, but like say across the series, if there's like a really insightful like clip, just post that to LinkedIn. Say if like the topic of the interview was around like banking or something, maybe like just tag people that you know who work in banking, and it will kind of like, if it's insightful and if it's good content, it will just kind of like naturally do its thing. And it will like, you know, it's not one of those things where you'll do it on a Thursday and then by the Friday, like someone really important at Google is going to be messaging saying, I really like this content series, but like, it's just all about kind of like perseverance and like it eventually will happen. And it's also about like engaging with people, and kind of like interviewing people. So like, for example, like if you posted my interview, then like on LinkedIn, I might then tag in someone else I know who works in marketing, but who's a lot more important than me, but like I know them. And then I might be like, oh, why don't you give them some advice as well? And like, kind of like naturally works like that.
How would it work if they were trying to grow their audience? So they're in year 10, which I think is 14 to 15.
Yeah.
They were trying to grow the audience for their YouTube channel for that demographic.
I think it's just about like regularly posting, but then also like the content that you are posting is good and it's offering value to someone. So it's quite an interesting like channel idea because obviously you guys are young, but then like not necessarily like a lot of like older people might watch it as well because they might find it quite interesting. So it's just making sure that every single piece of content or video that you're creating is offering someone value. So whether that piece of value is for a 14-year-old, someone same age as you guys, or it might be someone who's like, I don't know, like 31, and they've decided that they've worked in recruitment all their life and they're like, don't want to do that anymore. I want to work in marketing. And although they're a lot older, you know, they're kind of still like starting from scratch. So yeah, basically, as long as it's offering someone some form of value.
Awesome. That all makes sense.
Cool.
Do we have any more questions from our interviewers? Have a few seconds of silence whilst we wait for any ideas to bubble up. Okay, I think that's a no. Thank you so much, Dom.
No worries.
Awesome.
Absolute pleasure.
As usual. Also, I hope you're enjoying your new job.
Thank you very much.
As well.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, guys. It was nice to meet you. Hope you have a nice rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Cheers. See you later.
Bye bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.